So I've been teaching as a professor for 8 years now, going on 9. And I have to be honest with you that there are many things to my job that I enjoy. I enjoy teaching, I love teaching, I love the student engagement and the student interaction in the classroom. But one of the things that I'm not so crazy about is grading. More specifically, grading papers. One of the things that I've noticed in those 8 years is that the quality of writing from students has dropped off so significantly. Like, it's so obvious. And so much so that our 4-year institutions, I teach at a 2-year college, but the 4-year institutions that students transfer out of, when they graduate from here, they're telling us that the quality of student writing is not college ready. Simply put, it's not up to par. So what I'd like to do in this video is address some of the causes, some of the reasons why the quality of writing has dropped off so significantly, and who's responsible. Is it the institution, the educational institution, or is it the students themselves? And then provide some possible resources for students and educators alike to help students further the needle in bettering their writing. So as we said, the quality of student writing has gone down. I've seen in different articles posted, one from the New York Times that was titled, "Why Kids Can't Write." Basically, they highlighted some interesting facts. One of the things they highlighted was that 3/4 of 8th and 12th grade students did not test proficiently in writing. Some of the roots to the problem that the article suggests is that teachers are not adequately prepared to teach students how to write, that there's little training in terms of helping students how to write. And while professors and teachers know what good writing looks like in terms of translating that and teaching that to students, there is a bit of a drop-off. There also has been a shift that the article suggests from the 1930s that we've gotten more away from penmanship and learning how to spell correctly and more towards literary expression, asking students what they think and to write about their thoughts, but not necessarily the ins and outs of good and bad writing. There's even a Washington Post article that was published the same year that points back to a bill that was passed in 2002, and you probably remember what that is. You guessed it, the No Child Left Behind Act. And what the article says is that as the realities of No Child Left Behind trickle down to the classroom level, the overwhelming pressure on English teachers to get results on reading tests led to many teachers reducing the amount of instructional time devoted to writing. Simply put, what gets tested is what gets taught. And over time, the actual testing for writing became less and less, and the emphasis was more on reading and math. And so most of the standardized tests focused on that and not so much writing proficiency. Because of that, there wasn't a lot of time given to teachers, instructors, and professors alike to teach how to write well. That has not helped students at all. So although our educational system was well-meaning, it just hasn't served students in the same way that we thought it would. Now, not to put the blame totally on the institution, students are responsible as well. Hello, technology, particularly social media, has not helped students in their writing prowess. Simply put, students are writing and reading more with their thumbs than they are with their entire hand. Instead of penmanship or typing, it's more using their thumbs, where a simple LOL or LMBO just isn't sufficient in terms of adequately expressing yourself. So as students are taking to platforms such as TikTok and Instagram and maybe even Facebook, they're learning less about how to write well and engage in communication, written communication, and more so getting their thoughts out quickly. And this has led to what I've seen in the classroom: fragmented sentences like run-ons, misuse of punctuations, obviously a lot of spelling errors, a lack of subject-verb agreement in a lot of sentences. And a lot of this can be due to Instagram. Sorry. But fret not, there's hope for you. I can remember a student, this was pre-pandemic, so early 2020, and we were teaching a world religions class. I was teaching a world religions class, and I had this one student from Nigeria, and she had been here as a US citizen for maybe a little bit over a year. So English was definitely not her first language, and I knew that coming from our orientation assignment. So I have students write a reflection off of a speech that was given by David Foster Wallace, and from that I'm able to assess their writing and give them pointers and resources for them. And so basically I told this particular student that I get that English is not her first language and that she should take the time necessary to learn kind of some of the ins and outs to better her writing as she kind of matriculates in her education. And I saw some changes early on, but it wasn't until her final project. I have students kind of give a capstone project, and I'm able to see how students, or how many times students kind of engage with different resources in the college, particularly our writing labs. Every time they flash their badge, it kind of assesses or captures their time. And so every kind of tutoring session is about 30 minutes. And I was able to see that this one particular student had spent 4 hours in the writing lab, which would equate to 8 different writing sessions. And not all in my class, in other classes that she was taking, but her final paper that she turned in was just so impressive. It wasn't like it was perfect, but it was really impressive, especially in comparison to her orientation paper at the very start of the class. I saw such an improvement that I had to tell her in person that it was so inspiring to me, the level that she took, her commitment towards getting, towards being a better writer and just learning the English language and becoming more proficient. And I told her that she was one of the reasons why I come to work every day. She inspired me just because of the effort and the energy that she gave to her own education. Like, she valued it, and because of that, I valued being an educator so much more. And so I say that to say, no one is beyond the scope of hope. Everybody can become a better writer. But it does take work. Some quick tips for teachers and students alike that they can use to better help with their writing. Okay, so if you're a teacher, there's different things that I think you can do in the classroom, and there's some studies on this, and you can look at that, that show that this helps in students' writing process. One of those is peer reviews. Having students actually review each other's work and give them feedback and give them points, it helps because it's not necessarily coming from the instructor all the time. They're hearing from their own peers. Simply giving students an opportunity to talk about their writing just helps them to identify, almost like metacognition, to kind of sense how they're thinking through their process as they're communicating through writing. And another thing you can do is actually have students look at sample papers and help them identify what makes good writing. And so maybe you have 3 different samples, what's maybe an A-level paper, what's maybe a B, and then what's maybe not so good. And they can identify features within that writing so that they know what to look out for. And maybe they can sense what your expectations are for the class and how they should write papers. And if you're giving a paper, another tip you can do is have students identify their thesis statement and have them explain it, maybe not just to you, but to the entire class. Having students kind of think about what their thesis statement or what their summary statement is for a paper helps them not just to kind of pinpoint what they're talking about and make it concise, but it also helps them to clarify and gain focus for what their paper is going to be about. A simple, clear, concise thesis statement would help students just kind of cut out all the fluff. And if you're a student, there are some things that you can do off the bat that could really help you, and some simple resources. One that I found to be really helpful for me is Grammarly.com. Grammarly is one of those programs that you can install as a plugin to your browser, and it just kind of edits all of your work. This is a step up from when I was growing up and all we had was spell check on our Microsoft documents. Grammarly does a really good job of getting rid of all of the excess words and really pinpoint and paring down what you're saying to make it really concise and really clear. Another thing for a student is take responsibility and take ownership of your own writing. There's many resources that the institutions that you're attending offer for you that are free of charge. Well, they're not free of charge, they come with your tuition, but they're available for you whenever you need it. Things like writing tutors, writing labs. We actually have a program on our course management system where you could submit a paper and within 12 hours, that paper has been revised and all the necessary corrections need to be made are identified on the paper for students to do. They get that paper back and they're able to make the revision and then send their paper off for final grading. All of that is available for students, but it really takes the responsibility of the student to make that happen. So writing is hard work, but it's necessary work. If you think about the most successful, effective leaders that we have here in the world today, they're often effective communicators and they're able to articulate themselves clearly. The reason being is because many times they're able to write clearly. If you think about a TEDx talk that you might have seen on YouTube, most of those come from published books that those authors then give speeches to an audience. So effective communicators often start by writing themselves clearly, and that doesn't happen without being able to write effectively. So hopefully through this video, you're able to push the needle just a little bit further in improving the quality of writing. And maybe one day you actually start taking an interest in writing and you want to write yourself. And you can become a published writer and, maybe tour and make book speeches or make stages where you give speeches like TEDx. And when you do, remember me. Until next time.